And welcome to Sweet Tea and Tacos. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen.
And we're back. It's been a while.
It has.
Since mid-November.
Yep. Way too long.
Yep. We keep saying, okay, we've got to do this. We've got to get back to this.
Yeah, so we apologize.
Yeah.
Life got real crazy busy with the holidays and the new year and just, I don't know.
We didn't get the number of the truck that ran over us.
And now what we're dealing with is an ice storm.
Yeah, we're in ice quarantine now instead of COVID quarantine.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. We live in Mississippi, and we don't usually get this kind of weather this late in the year, which sounds kind of funny if you live, up north, because it's obviously still winter, but we don't ever get snow this late or anything. It's always usually January, and that's it.
We get ice storms. We haven't had any in a long time. This is the worst one we've had that I can remember. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we've had some bad ones.
Yeah. But usually if it's ice storm, it's just been ice. Like
a couple of
where
days.
It would just sort of start precipitating.
Right.
Turn, it would freeze, and then all the power lines would
snap,
crash.
Yeah.
Or we get snow.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've had just a mix of everything. We've had snow,
rain, you name it.
Yeah.
And this is day 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going on 5.
Kids are not in school.
Yeah.
People are not going to work.
Stores aren't open. The mail's not running.
Right. No, we've not gotten mail all week.
Yeah.
And,
the airport was shut down. FedEx, UPS, all of them are not yet. So it's been interesting. So now we actually have time.
We have a minute to sit down and do some podcasts.
We should have a bunch done after this week, you would think. So we're talking about soups.
Yeah, because we figured, it's soup weather, and it has been for a while. So let's talk about soups.
But it doesn't really need to be soup weather for us. We're soup people.
We are. Now, we don't do it in the heat of the summer when it's 100 degrees.
No.
But pretty much any other time, we're up for soup.
Yeah. I don't remember, though, making soup much, or my parents making soup much when I was growing up. I remember eating soup. Now we'd eat the canned soup, the chicken and,
tomato.
Chicken noodle and tomato. Now, my favorite are tomato and
grilled cheese.
Yeah. What a combination.
And see, I didn't eat that at all growing up. I know. I don't know. It just, well, you know me. I wasn't into tomatoes for the longest time, I guess. But then I learned when I grew up, I'm like, oh, tomato soup and grilled cheese, that's like a thing,
It's a thing, yeah. And I remember, we'd eat soup, but I don't remember my parents making soup a whole lot. Now, some they did, but not like we do. We make soup a lot.
We do.
We rarely buy canned soup.
Right.
Except for we went and did the milk and bread and canned soup run the other day before all this hit. But normally we make soup, and the reason I remember we kind of started making soup when you and I started dating. Right,
because a lot of our dates were
cooking,
get together and cook.
And your mom made a soup.
Yeah, she made a soup that was really hearty and good. It had ground beef in it, some other vegetables, kind of whatever she had on hand, like maybe some frozen limas or corn, like a bag of corn, frozen corn, green beans, things like that. Yeah, but it was kind of a tomatoey based, I guess, with some probably broth.
Right. And it wasn't hard. It was easy to put together. And
really easy.
You have some hot, fresh cornbread, and there you go.
Yes, absolutely.
But we've kind of stretched out from there. And, you hear a lot. You hear the sayings of chicken soup for the soul and how chicken soup will, cure anything. And when you eat the canned chicken soup, you're like, But if you've never had, you need to have homemade chicken soup with a broth made with chicken cooked. That is a whole different ballgame.
It really is.
And there's even levels within that. Because, we started out because we'd make chicken breasts a lot, and we would just take like the boneless, skinless breasts and boil them, and that's good.
Right, and we would save the broth use for other things. But yeah, then when you get like a whole chicken that's cut up, or you're using, say thighs
or whatever,
and legs and all that, and it's got the bones in and the skin on, that really adds a lot.
Yeah,
you get the collagen and you get a lot of the minerals and all that.
Yeah, and that's a whole different kind of soup. Which the whole chicken, boil it, stew it, whatever you call it.
Right. Add
carrot, celery, garlic, leeks, whatever. And it doesn't take a lot after that.
Right.
And man, that is just some kind of good. And now you start to understand about soup.
Right.
After that.
And it's just so nourishing and easy to digest. I mean, even if you didn't put anything else in it besides maybe just some salt and some spices, you could just have that.
Right. And and that's a bone broth.
It is bone broth, basically.
And you hear a lot about bone broth kind of in the popular culture right now.
Right.
Popular health culture. It's and people recognizing the benefits of bone broth again because this is the way people used to cook.
Right.
Which is kind of funny.
I know things come back around. Right. Things that have wisdom and that work, they'll come around again because people they're like, oh yeah, this is good.
This is what people used to do. This is how it used to be. And we've done the beef ones too. Now we're trying to eat more vegetarian these days.
We are.
But those are still, you just cannot beat those kind of homemade. And honestly, it's not that hard.
No, it's not.
It's really not. I mean, if you're into cooking at all, if you're into health, it's really not that hard. Now, I would say maybe the beef is a little more involved.
It is.
The chicken, I feel like you can just throw in a pot, boil it,
and within an hour, you've got your stuff.
Yeah.
The beef is going to take longer. You got to find some good quality bones. You got to roast them first.
Right.
Then you turn around.
And then make the stock.
Put it either, in a stock pot or do it in a crock pot, kind of overnight, very slowly and all that. But yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got pho, which is popular.
Right. It's Vietnamese. Yeah.
Vietnamese soups. And it's a bone broth. And that's one of the reasons why people like it so much.
Oh, and it's so good. We've got a local place here that we just love. And anytime, we like to go there just regardless. But if we're feeling a little bit under the weather, maybe sinus stuff or whatever, it's just
incredible.
It'll clean you out. You're just you're good to go the next day.
Yeah. Now, as good as, and really a chicken soup from scratch does not, like you said, an hour.
Yeah.
By the time you start cooking, it's an hour minimum because you got to cook the chicken. But really, you can make soup, fresh homemade chicken soup, in an hour and a half. And then, of course, there's the old joke, it's always better the next day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's also a kind of thing we've done, too, where we've made, here's what we're making for dinner, but I've got a pot of soup going on the back because that's for tomorrow. Yeah. And it's really not that hard. I would really encourage you to try it if you've never, ever tried it. It's so simple. And like I said, just a chicken, onion, celery, or leek and celery, carrot.
We love to put leek. It adds so much flavor. And don't forget your bay leaf.
You got a couple of bay leaves.
Yep.
But then we've done quicker ones, if you can, with like frozen mirepoix, which is a lot
There's
accessible.
2 kinds of mirepoix. There's the Cajun mirepoix that has the celery, the bell pepper, and the onion.
Trinity, and then you've got a standard mirepoix with carrot.
It's more of a French
onion,
tradition.
Celery,
Right.
So, sometimes we'll do a quick one where it's a couple of cartons of chicken broth and a couple bags of those and sauté it.
Just on that, with the chicken broth that you buy at the store, I would recommend staying away from anything in a can. Yeah. Buy those cartons. I don't know, they're kind of those cardboardy cartons, but check the ingredients, and if you've listened to us, we're kind of, that's our thing,
right? The
eating clean, and there's just a lot of hidden ingredients, even
so
stuff
many
like
of them have
yeast extract can be
because they're trying to thicken the broth.
It can be something else, maybe MSG, I'm not sure completely, and then there's a lot that can come under the heading of natural flavors and stuff. Just look for one that is as few ingredients as possible.
Right. And you can even find bone broths.
Yeah, you can. There's some jarred, bone broths in the store.
And it's still not as good as what you'd make,
No.
and they're a lot more expensive. But
Right.
hey, if you don't have time, you're time limited, it's an option.
Right. Right.
We've done chicken ones, or I've done like a rotisserie chicken and shredded that up and thrown that in with the mirepoix, and
Yeah, we did that one just a couple of weeks ago. That was
Yeah.
kind of our shortcut.
Yeah.
But it turned out really, really good.
Yeah. So, and they're also, it's a batch cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So from a easy standpoint, I'm making soup tonight, or I'm making soup for tomorrow, and I'll have it for a day or two.
Right.
it's
And that's,
easy
I think that's why we
so we're
are
lazy.
drawn to it.
Yeah.
It's just because
We don't want to cook tomorrow.
and we love to cook, but man, and we've talked about this on this podcast, is just the pots and pans and all the cleaning up. It can get overwhelming.
And that's another good thing about a soup. It's a one pot meal.
Yes.
You can do everything in the same pot.
Right. Or, you might want to do some rice.
Yeah.
And throw it in or something.
Yeah, if you want to thicken it up, throw some rice in there after you've got the meat cooked off. You
Yeah.
know, and
still that would be one pot.
yeah, exactly. I don't saute the vegetables. I mean, I'll cook the chicken in the stock pot, pull the chicken out, maybe skim out some of the whatever I need to skim out.
Right.
Throw the vegetables right into that stock, let them cook.
Yeah.
Shred that chicken, do whatever I need to do to clean it up, and throw the rice in there if you need to use rice, and throw the chicken back in there, and there you go.
Yeah.
And I used to be bad about that. I've got to saute my vegetables. I've got to do this.
You were that way about.
Yes, I'm a food snob. Was a food snob. I'm not as much anymore.
Once you have kids, a lot of that goes out
changes.
the window.
But I've also noticed, like, to me, I figured it out with my red beans and rice. Because I would do that. I would saute my vegetables, and then I'd do everything, But then, if you read about what red beans and the history of red beans and rice, it was a thing that they just kind of threw together on the stove because they were doing wash that
Right.
day.
It was on Mondays because
So
they
they're
were
busy.
doing wash. That was wash day in New
So
Orleans.
I thought to myself, kept thinking to myself, if they're busy, they're probably not going to be sauteing vegetables. You're just kind of throwing stuff in a pot.
Yeah.
And it was so much better
Yeah.
when I don't saute the vegetables. I don't know. We can talk about the cooking science of it, but I just felt like you had a lot more. The vegetables released their instead of sauteing the vegetable and the liquid of the vegetable coming out and evaporating, it stayed in the stock. And I think added just a lot more flavor. So that's how I do those now. But
Yeah. Well, and speaking of red beans and rice, I mean, it's not really a soup or a stew, but I kind of think of it in that category almost, kind of a one pot meal. I mean, you eat it over rice, but it's kind of that genre in a way.
And we don't do stews much.
No, we really don't. I mean, you think of things like beef stew and all that. Probably chili, red beans and rice, gumbo. Yeah, we do gumbo. And I guess that's kind of a stew in a way.
I think I finally nailed my gumbo.
Yeah, that was some good gumbo.
I call
the
that
other
nailing
night.
it when I can make it more than twice the same way.
Yeah, and people, they
good.
ask us for recipes. Oh, well, what do you do for so-and-so?
I throw this in
Yeah, I mean, we try to do the same thing twice, but we just don't always write it down.
This was a good example. So we were cooking. What were we cooking? We had Helen look at some recipes. I was trying to cook something. And
I can't remember.
yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I said, "Why don't you grab some recipes?"
Yeah.
And so she started like reading a recipe from like, okay, you need 4 of these. I don't have that. Just read me the process.
Right.
And that's how I do recipes. I'll look. Okay, I'm gonna cook, whatever this is, and then I start googling recipes. Well, then I look at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 recipes, and it was the fried rice. That's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And see what the general consensus is.
Right.
Because you'll find outliers.
Right.
People doing things original or whatever, and you get a lot of consensus. And then I go, okay, well, that's kind of how it's done. Then I take that plus what I have and the time I want to spend to do it, and there you go.
Right.
So again, it goes back to why we don't have written down recipes a lot. But the general idea is you just kind of think it through,
Right.
Fill your pot with water, put your chicken in it, bring it to a simmer, let it simmer for an hour, pull it out, skim it off, throw your vegetables in there. What vegetables? Whatever you want,
Right.
I mean, and we've done vegetarian versions with the vegetable stock. Now, that's one thing we haven't done is try to make a vegetable stock from scratch.
I know, and I think it's more difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to kind of venture into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we've used couple of different store-bought stocks,
vegetable stocks, and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Some are better than others.
Yeah, the first one we got was not good.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like,
Yeah.
Then we found another one that was really good. We like it a lot. So we use it a lot too. I mean, the chili we made was a vegetarian. So I mean,
right.
It's more about eating more vegetables than meat, I think, for us. But yeah, I mean, we have vegetarian
definitely.
chili. We kind of make chili mostly vegetarian now these days.
Yeah, and it's really good. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I don't miss the meat at all.
No.
And one thing that we really enjoy is to do it Cincinnati style.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a tradition that came, I guess, out of your family. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what we grew up eating it that
because
way.
some of your family's from Ohio. But it's got, if y'all don't know or familiar with that, it has some different spices in it. Like, I mean, it has all the traditional stuff, like
Right.
the chili powder and
Garlic. And,
yeah. And then it has things like cinnamon and allspice and nutmeg, maybe. I don't remember all of it.
Cocoa sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they even throw a little cocoa in there.
Yeah.
But it adds kind of a real roundness to the flavor.
Right. So growing up, we didn't really add those. We ate it Cincinnati style.
Okay, so over the pasta.
Over the pasta with beans.
Right.
Now in Cincinnati, you get it. The chili is a really fine chili, really finely ground meat, and it doesn't come with beans in it.
Gotcha.
You can add the beans.
Gotcha.
So it's like it comes on spaghetti,
Right.
but then it's like you can have it, one way, two way, three ways,
Right.
all the way, which is
Right.
like pasta, chili, beans, onions, cheese, and like 2 pounds of cheese. But it's fantastic. But that chili is that kind that has the spices in it. So Cincinnati chili, and eating it Cincinnati style, which is kind of what we did growing up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we like those because they're one pot meals. They're kind of
Just
easy.
comforting, hearty.
Very comforting.
When it's so cold out. I mean,
And-
it's kind of like our daughter Helen says, it's warm food. I mean, when it's so cold, you don't really want to be eating a bunch of salads and just old cold sandwiches.
Warm
and things,
food. That's Helen's thing. Warm.
You want it to really
What do you want? I want warm food.
warm you up from the inside out.
Yeah, that's descriptive. So yeah, try some soups. Really, I would say start with a chicken soup.
Yeah.
A chicken in a pot, salt and pepper, bay leaf.
Lots of salt. I mean, don't
It takes
go
a lot of salt.
crazy with it.
Right.
But you're going to put salt, and then you're going to taste later, obviously, after the chicken has
And you're
cooked.
gonna be like, there's no salt.
And you're
in
going
there.
to say, oh, it needs more. And so just keep tasting and keep adding until you get it right.
Right, and then lots of garlic.
Lots of garlic. Leeks add
or
huge
onion,
flavor.
celery,
Carrot.
carrot, and that's a basic soup right there.
Absolutely.
And my measurement for garlic, I think everybody's measurement is wrong. So if they say 1 or 2 bulbs, 1 or 2 cloves, that's a bulb. I just substitute a bulb of garlic.
Yeah. I mean, you really almost can't have too much, and it's so good for you.
It is. But yeah, you think about all those fresh vegetables. You could use a frozen mirepoix or just cook it fresh while your chicken's cooking, and there you go. And I would say start with that soup. Takes an hour and a half, and it'll change your life, and you won't look back. No, it really. I won't eat anybody else's chicken soup.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've not made a tomato soup.
No, we've never made that. But yeah.
That's one thing we ought to try.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
So
yes.
for the first one in 3 months or whatever it's been.
Yeah, since November.
I think so, yeah. Something like that. There you go. That's Sweet Tea and Tacos for February. Finally back.
Yep.
And
stay warm.
Yeah,
Eat
stay
soup.
warm. Okay. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen. Thanks for listening.